This court has considered the differing formulas and threshold arguments presented by various parties to this petition. While the first, second, and third petitioners raised pertinent questions connected to this issue, we shall address them together with those of the sixth petitioner, who has addressed and focused on the issue as specifically framed in detail. It must be restated that the case made by the sixth petitioners concerns a data-specific threshold as enunciated under Article 138(4) of the Constitution, that without attainment of which there can be no declaration. This data-specific threshold is what this court declared in John Aaron Mwau and two others versus IEBC and others. Petitions numbers 2 and 4 of 2017, consolidated, referred to as the ultimate yardstick for determining the winner in a presidential context. In Raila Odinga and five others versus IEBC, petition number 5, 3, and 4 of 2013, this court asserted that rejected ballot papers do not constitute a vote cast to be included in calculating the final tally in favor of a presidential candidate. We are not persuaded by amicus curiae's brief, that is Law Society, who attempted to persuade us to consider our position on this finding. We reiterate that rejected votes cannot be taken into account when calculating whether a presidential candidate attained 50% plus one of the votes cast in accordance with Article 138(4) of the Constitution. Similarly, in the same Raila 2013 case, the court further laid down the parameters of burden and standard of proof in electoral disputes. More specifically, the burden and standard of proof required in disputes challenging the outcome of a presidential election. The sixth petitioner also asserted that rounding off of votes cast in a presidential election as a means of assessing the threshold under Article 138(4) of the Constitution kills and bars voters, which is illegal and unconstitutional. We have deliberated on this proposition and found that it is not mathematically sound and that the rounding off done by IEBC and the chairperson was correct. Consequently, we find that the petitioners did not provide a watertight case to warrant the setting aside of the results of the presidential election on the basis of not having met the threshold provided under Article 138(4)(a) of the Constitution. On the voter turnout, therefore, we find that the formula predicated on the number of voters identified through Kim's kit progressively and used by IEBC and the chairperson to generate a percentage of 64.76% was correct. Having settled the issue of voter turnout, we must ask ourselves whether in the making of the declaration, the chairperson of IEBC applied the formula in Article 138(4) of the Constitution, which is total votes cast less rejected votes divide by 2 must always give 50% plus 1 vote. Given the numbers that were presented to us by IEBC and the chairperson, this will translate to 14,213,137 divided by 2 plus 1, which makes 7.106569. The question that must inevitably follow is whether this formula, when applied, will confirm that 7,106,569 votes is less than 7.176 141, which represents the number of votes received by the first respondent. We find that it is, as such, on the basis of the foregoing formula and from the numbers provided by IEBC and its chairperson and the declaration by the chairperson of the president-elect on 15th August 2022, it is our finding that the declared president-elect attained 50% plus 1 of all the votes cast in accordance with Article 138(4) of the Constitution.